When you have a set of data, one way to organize it is in a line plot, or sometimes it's referred to a dot plot. Here we have a set of data. We have a 1, a 3, a 2, a 1, a 2, a 3, a 2, a 0, a 2, and a 7. And we want to organize it because right now it's just a bunch of numbers. So we're going to organize it on a number line. So we start with our line here and we're going to number it. Looks like our smallest number is 0 and our largest number is 7. So I want to make sure to include all those numbers 0 to 7. And now I'm going to count how many times each number occurs. So we have 1 0, so I'm going to put an X above the 0, 1X for 1 0. Our ones, we have 1, 2 ones, so I'm going to put 2 X's above the 1. Then my 2's, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 2's, so I'll put 4 X's above the 2, representing that there are 4 2's. There are 2 3's. There are no 4's, so I just leave that one blank. There are no 5's, there are no 6's, and there is 1 7. So this is our line plot that would represent this set of data. Now, like I said, sometimes it's called a dot plot because, like, instead of an X, they'll put dots, like 1 dot above the 7, 2 dots above the 3, okay? But in our case, we'll use X's for right now for our line plot. So now, by looking at this line plot, we can easily tell what is our mode. Well, the one that repeated the most was the 2, right? So it is our mode. And our median, we can easily tell our median because if we can count back, here was our least, greatest, least, greatest, least, greatest, least, greatest. Oh, looks like there was 2's in the middle, so 2 is our median. We can also tell our range because our largest number was 7, our smallest number plotted was 0, 7 minus 0 is 7. So there we could easily tell our median, mode, and range by looking at our line plot. Now there are a few other things that we can also tell in our line plot, and that's what's called a cluster of data. A cluster of data is like a cluster of grapes. It's a group. It's a big grouping of numbers. Clusters usually include 2 or more X's, all grouped together. So I would identify this group of numbers right here as a cluster. We can also identify what we call outliers. An outlier is a number that's way outside all the rest of them. It's way bigger or way smaller than all the rest of the numbers. So in this case, we see that this little X right here is all by itself. It is an outlier. Okay, so 7 is the outlier. And then when you have an outlier, usually you have what we call a gap. There is a gap in between 3 and 7. A gap is a large area with nothing in it, kind of like a gap in your teeth, okay? It's a gap, it's a space in between where the X's are. So there is a gap in between the 3 and the 7. Usually there is a gap in between X's and an outlier, okay? So we have identified our cluster, our gap, and our outlier on our line plot. Let's look at one more set of data and do one more line plot. We have our number of pets again, okay? So our number of pets, it looks like the smallest number of pets is 0. The largest number is 10, so we have to number 0 to 10. Barely get it in there. Okay, so now we'll count up how many zeros. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros. And let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 3 ones. Twos, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 twos. Threes, we have 1, 2, looks like 2 threes. Fours, there's 1, 2. Fives, I see 1. Sixes, I don't see any 6s. I don't see any 7s. I don't see any 8s. I don't see any 9s. And then there's one 10. So there is our line plot to organize this set of data. So now if we look, we have a big cluster of data right there, right? It's a big cluster of data. Okay, then we have a gap right here, don't we? It's a big space with nothing in it. And then here's our little lonely outlier over here. Our 10 is our outlier, okay? So we have a cluster from 0 to 4. We have a gap from 5 to 10, and 10 is our outlier. What is our mode? Well, it looks like we had two modes, didn't we? 0 and 2. Okay, and then our median, we would have to count back. Least, greatest, 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 least, greatest. It looks like our median would be 2. And then, of course, our range is our biggest, which was 10, and our smallest, which was 0. 10 minus 0 is 10. So that is how you would do a line plot.